Welcome to the Nest Podcast, your home for nerd entertainment and sports talk, where your hosts, Brandon and Zach, hash out what's happening in video games and sports every week. Enjoy the show.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Nest Podcast. This is a bonus episode, and we are joined here tonight with a very special guest. Of course, my name is Brandon, and I'm joined by Zach and Justin, and our special guest tonight from Growing Up 8-Bit, Ian.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming back. This is the second or third time you've been on the podcast now. We've came on your live stream and talked video games and even commentated on some video games in the past. So we've gone back and forth on each other's show, and hopefully we're getting a little bit of a crossover fan base building up between the two of us.
Yeah, I hope so.
Of course, Zach and Justin are my normal co-hosts for our weekly sports podcast that we host via Sportszilla. And those we talk about sports. Baseball's coming up. We're super excited about that. I know Ian and Zach were jawing a little baseball as I was getting everything set up on the stream here. Ian, you're a Braves fan, right?
Yeah, like the Braves, 90s TBS.
Okay. Justin's a Braves fan also, so you guys will get along on ganging up on Zach there in the National League. But tonight we're going to be discussing some of the greatest video game franchises of all time, and we thought who better than to come on than our resident video game buddy Ian and talk about some of these. And we threw together a top 10 list because, let's face it, everybody throws together top 10 lists. It's the easiest way to talk about a bunch of things and get through them quickly. Let's face it. But tonight we wanted to make it a little bit special. So for our live stream viewers, you guys are actually going to get to see a pretty cool little, basically PowerPoint presentation that we've put together that accompanies the podcast episode. So it's a visual as well as audio experience on this one. But before we get started into all that, I wanted to ask you guys, what personally defines a good franchise for a video game company to you? Ian, if you want to go ahead and kick start with answering that question.
I think something's just memorable. You know, if it's something old, something I can remember from my childhood, and when I play it now, it doesn't matter if it's a 20-year-old game or a 10-year-old game, just something that brings back all the memories of being a kid, you know, from the gameplay to the music to the characters, the story. That's what I look forward to in a franchise, you know, to be in that top. Pretty simple.
And that makes sense for you. You're growing up 8-bit. You play a lot of the old games, so the nostalgia factor is always there for you on those. What about you, Zach?
For me, on our specific list here, I'm thinking about those games that everyone knew about. And, you know, if you're going to be a franchise that everyone knows about, damn near every game you put out has to be really good. And you'll see, of course, on our list, there's franchises on here that don't put out bad games. So that, to me, that's a big deal. Everyone knows about you, and every game you put out is great.
So Zach likes you if your Instagram and your Twitter are off the chain and you've got all the likes and follows. Justin, what about you?
Yeah, I like playability. I like those games that, like, you know, you could play the first one and then you could play the newest one if you haven't played it. You know, there's really there's things that change, but as far as how you play the game, it's still the same. Kind of like Madden, for example, which is on the list. And kind of like Zach, you know, one of those that you can see and it instantly takes you to that aha moment, like, hey, I remember playing that, or everybody knows about it.
Yeah. No, I like that. I like everything you guys were just saying. And then I just want to add that for me, a lot in what makes my franchise the best is the replayability. If you can beat a game and then go back and start from the beginning and play it again, or, you know, just sticking with the same characters throughout a series or whatever, instead of how some games change and you follow a different perspective all the time. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into the list. And I forget who had the 10. All right, go ahead, Justin.
Number 10 on our list is Mortal Kombat.
Classic.
Yes, Mortal Kombat is that first game where like the gore and the guts, the blood, just that first game that kind of made me say, whoa, like something you've never seen before. I remember the first time I saw a fatality, it was just mind blowing. That's something that no video game even come close to. I've never seen a video game rip somebody's spine out or, the heart beating in your hand or any of the stuff that Mortal Kombat started.
Absolutely. I think Mortal Kombat is unique because it reached so many people because it was an arcade game. I think anybody who went to a Pizza Hut in the late 90s played Mortal Kombat. I remember, I'm pretty sure that's the first time I ever played it. Throw a quarter in the machine, pick your character, and then fight as long as you can. So that game reached so many people. I mean, I think everybody that was able to play with video games played that at some point.
The fact that it was in Pizza Hut is how I convinced my mom to let me buy it at the store. I was like, it's in Pizza Hut. It can't be that bad. Right. And she's like, yeah, I guess that's true. Pizza Hut's a fine establishment.
That's well, awesome. I think, we forget. I think it helped push Sega out there for being that, it wasn't the kids' console. It went against Nintendo, and all of a sudden you had the blood and, the stuff that you couldn't get on Nintendo. And I think that helped, along with some other games, but that helped push the sales and drive the sales of a whole system.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point. See, I never had the Sega. I was a Nintendo kid growing up, so that's an interesting point that I didn't even really consider. I knew eventually that Mortal Kombat had blood on Sega, but I think by that point it had blood everywhere.
Well, it's originally a Sega game.
Oh, see, I didn't even ever hear of it until the arcade, and then I got it on Super Nintendo.
Right.
Yeah, I think I got like all 5 versions. I mean, it's something ridiculous for Sega, like sitting behind me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they had 3 Mortal Kombats that came out on Sega.
Yep. If I'm not mistaken, there was some sort of cheat code or something you had to punch in to get the blood on the Sega.
It's like AABBAA.
Yeah,
something like that.
I know. So that's another game too that like you remember the moves and the sound effects even. Like get over here or who can you remember all those sound effects even though you haven't played it in 15, 20 years, you still know when you start playing it what's going to happen. You know what moves they're going to do. You know what they're going to say. You know everything.
The thing that I remember most about the game is just when you would have a sleepover at your house or whatever, 3 or 4 of your buddies would be there, and the winner would stay on the controller, and the loser would have to rotate between the other controllers. So you would stay up all night fighting to keep that first player controller because you wanted to be the champ and keep playing. That was the shit. You didn't want to be the guy sitting there watching all night.
Yeah. I always remembered if somebody was able to figure out like some sort of special move or something, that was like clutch because of course you wouldn't tell the other guys because that was your chance of keeping the controller. So like if you figure out some crazy move, like how the hell is he doing that? And you can just run the table.
Mm-hmm. Back A was that was the only move I knew how to do. And that was for Sub-Zero and Scorpion. So I just spammed that move to death. I sucked at fighting games, so I just spammed that move to death.
And Raiden was back forward where he does a little thing, but I used to go between Reptile, Sub-Zero, and Scorpion because they had the exact same. Their moves were the exact same. Mm-hmm. So you could do that back A, and it like fit for each one of those characters. So I knew that whoever I got, I'm either going to spit acid at him, or I'm going to throw the whatever that spike. I don't even know what it is.
Like spike on the rope or whatever.
Yeah, or I'm going to freeze them. And when you got Sub-Zero, you keep freezing them over and over. You ain't going to lose, basically.
Right. And that's what's been great about the Mortal Kombat franchises. Throughout the years, they've kept the same formula, but just enhanced upon it.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I mean, there's so many iconic characters. Justin just named 3 of them, but there's tons of iconic characters that everyone knows. And of course, the movies came out and stuff, so they kind of brought those characters to life. But throughout the whole lifespan of the Mortal Kombat franchise, everyone knows the big characters of that game.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I earned number 10 on our countdown. So moving on. Yep.
All right. So number 9 is a favorite of many people, Resident Evil. This is the classic scary game. This game is probably top tier horror for me. I remember playing Resident Evil 2 first, and you could do some sort of mode where you had like a minigun, which was super advantageous. But even with that game was insanely difficult, and the first one is super difficult, and they're all insanely difficult. And that's kind of the theme of that game is it's scary and it's also really hard to beat.
The thing that I remember most about the Resident Evil series is it really introduced me to the jump scare in video games.
Yeah.
And up until that point, I'd never played a game that would make me jump back or maybe drop a controller or something like that, because the shit in that game would legitimately get you, especially if you were, late at night with all the lights out in your room and you're just huddled with a blanket around the TV, just staring straight at it.
Yep.
Shit gets intense.
Yeah, that's an intense game.
I remember, I don't know which one it was. I know the most recent one scared me to death, but I know there was one, it was like the second or third one. There's a hallway. And in the hallway, there's just like these blinds. They're like blowing, so the window's open, right? Because like the curtains are blowing in the wind. And I know that as soon as I get to that damn thing, these dogs are going to jump out. It happens every time. But I remember just sitting there like, I wouldn't move. Like I did not want to go forward because I knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And for some reason, that's what sticks to my head when I think of Resident Evil is that one little hallway. It got me every time.
I think that's Nemesis. Nemesis was the first one that scared me to death. And that was the one in between like 2 and 3. It was like 2.5, basically, if you look at the series. But that was the one that scared me. And, it's pretty cool because it shows how good the games are because they're remaking all of them. Mm-hmm. They just remade 2. They're getting ready to remake 3. They are definitely standing up.
Absolutely. Yeah, with updated graphics, those games stand up strong. And even their newer ones. The last one I played was Resident Evil 7, and that game is fucking terrifying.
Yeah, that's the last one I played too.
It's so scary.
It's insane that they can make so many great zombie video games, but the zombie movies are always so god awful.
Yeah. Do Resident Evil 7 in VR. I made the mistake of promising my viewers that once I got to 1,000 followers, we would do Resident Evil 7 VR. No, like I hate being scared already. I don't do scary movies. I was like, no way. I was like, played it for about 45 minutes and was like, I'm done. I called my son up there. I was like, yeah, you're gonna finish this for me. Yeah, I can't do it.
I remember on 7, I rented it for a couple days, and it's not too far into the game, but you basically get chased around the house by that one crazy dude. It's just, I don't know. You get, even on just a regular console, I got so immersed. It was just terrifying.
And you can hear him running through the house. Like if you're in one section, you can hear him. Like he's running near you. That's just that's crazy. There's
something about the video games to me that are almost scarier than movies because you're controlling what happens in the game, and on a movie you're just kind of watching what's going on. So if you move forward, something's going to happen to you. So you kind of don't want to because the game is going to scare the shit out of you.
Yeah, right? I challenge you guys to do it in VR one time on stream.
Fuck, that sounds.
I'm putting that out there for you.
Let's move on to the next one.
So I think I've got number 8.
Yes.
And number 8 is one that's near and dear to me. That's going to be the Final Fantasy franchise. Love them from the oldest one that I played growing up. I actually have it. I got Final Fantasy 5. I got the Japanese version. Probably one of the series that I have the most of. I have all the remakes, all the original ones. Love them from top to bottom. Story-based games, that's the first thing you think of, at least for me, is Final Fantasy.
For me, the first Final Fantasy game that I ever played was Final Fantasy VII. I never even really knew anything of the franchise until that point. I later went back and played some of the earlier ones, and it is what it is. It's like going back and playing an old game after you've played the newer shit. It's never quite as good. But I played Final Fantasy VII first, and that baptized me into the franchise. I then went on a rampage and like went through tactics. I got Final Fantasy 10, 12, 14. I bought several games within the system or within the series after that, but 7 for me was always stands out as the best in the franchise and one of the best in video game history.
Just a little fact for you: 7 has sold 13 million copies worldwide.
That's great.
I've got a copy in my garage right now.
7 was the first one that I played as well, and I remember being a stupid, little punk kid, and my favorite part was giving them all like cuss word names or something real off the wall. So whenever they said their names, they were cussing them, And that's the first time I believe in any game that I played where I could manipulate who they were, kind of, and what they said, if that makes sense. Because I would always cuss that one guy out. I think I called him "damn it," and every time he'd be like "damn it," and he'd start talking, and I just thought that was the funniest thing I've ever done in a video game, and that was, that was my childhood.
I remember that too.
Yeah.
That's another series where the remakes stand up till today, much like Resident Evil. And most notably, there's supposed to be a Resident Evil 7 remake coming out soon, but I don't know what the word is on that.
April.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the most recent thing that I heard was that it got pushed back a few months or whatever, but it's Final Fantasy VII. It's been getting pushed back since friggin' 1996, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sold. I pulled up some facts on it trying to do my research. If you include inflation since the series came out, debuted in 1987 on Nintendo or Famicom in Japan, $25.2 billion is what it's grossed.
Wow. That's got to be one of the all-time numbers, or the all-time number.
Yeah. And they're, I think I seen somewhere they've had 54 different remakes, games, other things that involve Final Fantasy. That's including like just all media, movies, just everything.
Yeah, I believe it.
So It's ridiculous. 54 titles, 144 million sold worldwide.
As good as it was, as good as Final Fantasy is, this next game on our list got me to switch from PlayStation over to Xbox, and that's number 7, Halo.
Mm-hmm.
The Halo series is one that, like I said, it made me switch because of the ability to play with my friends in first-person shooters that were fun. It was an enjoyable game. We could all hook up in the dorm room at college. We would have cables running up and down the hallway, but we didn't care. We could all link up on our Xboxes and we could play. Couldn't do that on the PlayStation, so it was worthless to us.
Right.
Halo made me do that.
Halo 3, man. Halo 3 was that game. I still play Halo 3. I've actually got on Xbox, they've got where you pay the Xbox Plus. Mm-hmm. You can download games. The only one I downloaded was Halo 3 multiplayer. And the other day I was playing Slayer, and I taught Trenton how to play team deathmatch and duos and all that. But I've got a funny story. Like I said, Halo 3 is guarantee you that's my number one game in history. But recently I got the Guardians. I think it was the last one I got. And I'm colorblind. I don't know if y'all know this or not. So I can see colors, but when you get like colors that are similar, I can't distinguish between the two. And I was so happy to get this game, and I was playing this game online, and I couldn't tell who my teammate was because they were flashing all kinds of crazy stuff on the new one. So I killed my teammate, and I got banned for 72 hours. So I want to say that I've not played Halo since. I played 3, but I will never buy another Halo because of that, because I didn't do it on purpose, and it pissed me off. So I took that game back that day.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
72 hours, my ass. It's going back today.
I took it back. I called him too, and I couldn't get through to nobody, but I was going to tell him, like, look, because I'm colorblind, you going to ban me? You know what I mean?
That's discrimination.
Yeah, assholes.
Funny.
I still have a friend. Three was the first one I played. I still have like 2 friends on Xbox. If you go to my friends list, they're down at the bottom. That it keeps saying offline beside them because we met and we became friends over Halo 3. And I do not have the heart to delete them. And they have been offline for 10 years. And I'm just hoping like one day I'll see it just pop back up that they're online
Yeah.
and I can reconnect.
That's become like a meme recently. It's like the good old days of when the boys were all online and everyone hopped on and played. Going back to the first one though, I think the original Xbox, it's all of its success is due to Halo. I don't think anyone would have bought a regular Xbox had Halo not released on it, because just from the whole genre of first person shooters, Halo just took everything and blew it the fuck up. Because I mean, before that there were little shooter games. I think Call of Duty probably had games before that, but
They weren't that great.
Right. Something about Halo just grabbed everyone, and everyone was just infatuated with the game.
Rainbow
Yeah.
Six
Yeah.
Vegas was the one I remember before Halo 3.
Hey, Halo's where we all learned how to teabag properly.
Very true. And you'll never forget, how frustrating it was to learn how to drive the Warthog.
Yeah.
There are
Yeah.
many people to this day that still can't drive the thing.
Especially online. You would always get that one dumb teammate that did not have his license.
Yeah. What made
and
me
he
mad
would think
is
he was badass.
Yeah.
what drove me nuts is the most deadliest weapon in that game was a sword. Like, you could walk around with guns all day, but if you knew how to hide, and then that sword highlights and you hit the button, they're dead instantly. I hated that damn sword. I liked it when I had it, but I hated it when I didn't have it.
Yeah, I like the grav hammers.
Yeah,
Yeah, those are fun.
I was always a battle rifle guy.
Takes specific skill to rock the battle rifle. Speaking of Gravity Hammer, that reminded me of another thing that Halo kind of had specifically to its genre. People would create like their own versions of games, like game modes, like Griffball. I don't know if you ever played that.
Ah, yes.
That's
That
on
was
the new
just
one, yeah.
created by people, and then it became an actual mode in the games that they released. They did that with I think it was called like Zombie or something like that, and there was a specific parameters that people just created. And then after a couple iterations of the game, it became an actual mode in the real game. And I think that's kind of unique to Halo, is that the community created game types, and then they just caught on, and everyone started playing them.
Uh-huh.
Go ahead, Justin. You're next.
Oh yeah, let's move on to number 6. I'm a sports nut, and I played this game until I'm blue in the face, and I still play it. And Madden. I mean, we argued earlier that I was saying how NBA was a funner game to play, 2K, now because of everything, but y'all made great points. And when you think of sports, it always goes back to Madden. Madden's what started it all.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's why I chose the old school graphic for that image and all that stuff, is because that's what started it all. Being able to move a little object around on your screen and have a bunch of guys running after it captivated an entire fan base, and they taught their kids taught their kids. Here we are now with Madden games that it looks like a friggin' real life movie in front of you, a real life player in front of you that you're controlling. But it all started with that little, like Ian likes to go back to, those 8 bits.
Yep. Crazy.
Yeah. For me, I like going back to those games. I haven't played one on stream. You guys are making me. I've got some good ideas for Flashback Friday now, but Pat Summerall and John Madden, just hearing their voices on commentary on them games, man, that brings back tons of memories. Period. It just makes you smile playing them.
Iconic.
Yes.
Do you? What was your guys' first Madden that you played? I remember my first one was on PlayStation, and it was Madden 2000.
Okay. I know mine was way before that. I was either 94 or 96. It was either I had NHL 94-6 or NFL 94-6. I can't remember which. But I had one or the other. I want to say 94 for Madden, and NHL was 96.
That's about when I started. I remember 2007 was my favorite one because I'm a Falcons fan.
Mike
Michael
Vick
Vick
was on the
was
cover.
it was the perfect cheat code. But I can say that Madden's the first game that I've ever gotten a fist fight with one of my best friends over. And we still, like, if I play somebody online and I'm friends with, we still talk trash.
Oh yeah.
Just as if we're in the same room together. And I think that's what sports games bring that other games don't. You could talk shit the whole game, and then there's nothing like you losing, and then you run back a 99-yard kickoff to win the game or something. You know how EA, it's in the game. There's EA always gives you a chance, whether it be you fumble the ball and it goes forward, and you kick it all the way to the end zone, or whatever might happen. I think that made Madden what it is.
Right.
It pissed you off, but when you're on the other end, it was like the greatest thing ever.
Oh yeah. And like you said, with Madden 07, I mean, Mike Vick was a straight up cheat code in that game.
Mm-hmm. He's illegal.
Yep.
That's the brilliance of Madden, though, is they've basically had the same formula, the same recipe for 30 years now, and all they've done is update the players and update the graphics.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it.
Yeah. Every now and then they add a little bit of new stuff. Like I remember when they added the hit stick, that was like a huge deal,
Well, that's because the controllers evolved, so it was like, well, let's make this stick worth something.
Right.
I miss the mini games. Do you guys remember when they had the mini games in, like the training camps where you could do all?
They still do, yeah.
They still have that in the show as well. The show 19 has mini games like that help boost your skills and stuff along the way.
Yeah, I guess I just don't play it as much as I should.
Well, that's
Go ahead,
Madden inspired all the other sports games, though. So that's why Madden holds a special significance for this list.
Yeah, absolutely. Madden is the OG when it comes to sports games. And I mean, it's another one of those series that everyone knows about it. They might not play it, but they know what Madden is.
Mm-hmm.
The only one, though, that doesn't have an 8-bit title. They did not come around till Sega.
Interesting.
So what was the only 8-bit one? Tecmo Bowl?
They don't have.
Well, yeah, if you wanted football, you had like 10-yard fight and Tecmo Bowl. They had a couple like little off ones, but Tecmo Bowl was king up until Madden come around, and then Madden come and knocked them off. Because they had Tecmo Bowl had the license for the players, but not the teams.
Yeah, that's
Madden
true.
come along and got license for both and just squashed them.
Yep.
Same thing they done to ESPN and 2K. That's why you haven't seen another 2K football game. Madden owns that, got that NFL license locked up.
Right.
All right. Well, Madden's very special to all of us. We all kind of grew up on it. But number 5 on our list is one that was a little bit less known for a lot of people, unless you were into this type of game. If you're into the Lord of the Rings type ideas or Game of Thrones type stuff, then the Elder Scrolls series was down your alley. And I got hooked on it around the Morrowind time. I got to start playing with Morrowind, got to see them kind of feel out the franchise on a bigger stage. That was one of the early Xbox games that I got to play in addition to Halo. So it was cool to see that, but then Oblivion is what really hooked me in the franchise. That's when they had ironed out all the details. You didn't have to buffer walking 30 feet down the street. So it was nice to be able to actually have an open world game, and Oblivion was one of the first open world games that I really got to explore.
Right. Yeah. Oblivion was absolutely iconic, legendary. And of course, damn near everybody knows about Skyrim. So if you weren't hooked by Oblivion, Skyrim just took everyone. I mean, they're still selling that game now, almost 10 years later. It's insane.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, but I mean, there's so much stuff that you can do in these games, and that's part of my gripes and part of my praise for the game is that there's so much to do. I do wish that it was a little more selective and restrictive, so that if you say were a member of the Fighters Guild and you build up all of your fighting attributes, you couldn't just go and join the Mages Guild and stuff like that. Like, your magic would be way too low, because it doesn't make sense for you to be able to be everything all at once.
Right.
But that's just my little gripe for that type of game. But I digress.
Yeah, I'd played Oblivion some when it first came out on 360, but I'll be honest, this is one that uh, I have to back away from, and I don't know too much about, so I can't give like a huge opinion on this one. I do know my wife loves it. I know it's still a huge game. I mean, there's guys that stream it all the time and have tons of views, so maybe I need to look at it. But maybe you guys can't. Did it follow the Fable? It went Fable 1, 2, 3, then it went to Oblivion and then Scott, all that, or did it is its own thing?
With
Fable's its own deal, yeah.
See, I'm oblivious when it comes to this one,
but
I'll hop back on when we get on like the older train here.
That's kind of what I was gonna say. I played the Fables.
I mean, that's fine.
Go ahead, Justin.
I was gonna say I played the Fables. I played a little bit of Skyrim. It was a little too big for me. I got tired of just like walking forever in the wrong direction. I've heard great things about it, and I'm the same way. I might want to check it out, but I don't really have much to say on that game.
It's more of like the gamer's game. Like the casuals, if you will, wouldn't necessarily pick up that kind of game. Like you said, it is a little daunting. There's a lot to do, a lot to learn. But people who enjoyed, playing video games and getting into big games that took a long time to play, this series is wonderful. And I can't remember right now the name of the new one coming out, but the whole community is ecstatic about a new Elder Scrolls game coming out, and we can only hope for the best.
Is this a game that I would have to play the old ones if I wanted to play the new one?
Every game is its own thing. Like each game is a fake country in a different world, if you will. So they have nothing really to do with each other. I mean, some of the lore kind of follows, but you could pick up Skyrim right now and you'd be totally fine. You'd probably enjoy it too. It's amazing.
That's about it.
Am I next?
Yep. And just like Zach said, you can kind of start at any point. Our next game on our list, you can do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Zach, you want to go ahead?
Yep. So this is an iconic first-person shooter, Call of Duty. I mean, this is one of the games on this list that pretty much everybody plays. And if you didn't play the old school World War II games like we have on the graphic here, you damn sure picked up Modern Warfare and Modern Warfare 2, and maybe even after on that. But this game, much like Halo, revolutionized the first-person shooter genre and just made it insanely popular. And it's one of the biggest multiplayer games to ever come out.
Can we all agree that there's Modern Warfare 2 and then everything else? Like Modern Warfare 2 will always be, and they've tried to to do it similar. They've tried to come out with more Modern Warfares, but I don't know that Modern Warfare 2 will ever be touched as far as that Call of Duty game.
For sure, the gold standard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's definitely it's the most rage-inducing game I will say on the list. It will be the one that makes me cuss and swear and want to kill a kid quicker than any of them. So,
what were you going to say, Brandon?
I was just saying that, yeah, everything that you said is spot on with Call of Duty. It's one of those games that it can bring you together with your friends because you form fire teams and you work together to overcome the evil bad guys. And it's a game that can make you rage and want to just slam your controller up against a concrete wall. A lot of fun. I know my old squad, a couple of our listeners actually were on that. Harvey and Aaron from Old Appalachian Hemp. They used to be in my Call of Duty squad, and we used to run around and sing annoying songs to the people in the lobby and get everybody all pissed off at us. Good times.
Yeah, classic.
Now, are you guys a hardcore or just a squad fans?
I like running with a squad.
Yeah, I like both. I know Call of Duty is the kill streaks in Call of Duty when you got like a chopper or one of them big kill streaks, in my opinion, is one of the most rewarding things of any video game. I remember working so hard and I get to like 6 kills and I die. And like Brandon said, I'd be ready to throw my controller against the wall. But when I finally got that 7 straight, and I've already let the dogs loose, and then I've got the chopper gunner coming through, and you just see all these kills, man. It's just that reward. It's the best thing in video games, in my opinion. That's just it's great.
I've never felt that. I can't. I'm the guy that's like 5 and 15. Like I respawn, take 2 steps, and get killed by like a camper, and then end up having to go to Walmart to buy myself a new TV.
It's definitely a game that you have to kind of build the skill up of your quick reflexes and immediately snapping onto an enemy once they come onto your screen, because like Ian said, you can get fucked up in that game if you're not ready for it, because it's fast paced and it's basically who can get on target first.
But now I do enjoy 1, 2, 3. You give me the World War II ones, I will take them all day. Love them games.
Yeah, I love those. The camp, and that's another thing that Call of Duty was originally known for, is their amazing campaigns. And even now, till today, even today, that the brand new one has a really good campaign. But that was one thing that I enjoyed, is not only did it have a great multiplayer, but the campaigns of those games were amazing. I mean, the storyline of Modern Warfare, it's great.
Modern Warfare 3 had a sick one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's one of the things that keeps Call of Duty on lists like these all over the internet and ranks it so high on our list, is the fact that it's such a great franchise. Every game they put out is consistently good. Some of them are great. Some of them are super, super great, but they're always good.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that's a good benchmark to have as a video game company. And, Ian said it himself. He's not into that type of genre. He's more of the 8-bit style. He's more of the old school stuff. So number 3 is right up his alley. So Ian, you want to go ahead and introduce it?
Yeah, I'm afraid this is going to be the first one we're going to get fallback on. But number 3, I'm going to hold up because this is my original one as a kid. Is right here, the gold cartridge shining in the light. Zelda. This right here, you don't have to say anything at all. We can just hold that up, flash up the little card saying Zelda, and go on, because there's nothing you can say about Zelda that will do it justice. The first game that I beat on Nintendo growing up, it's a game that I probably play at least 5 times a month on stream, going through beating it. From Nintendo to Super Nintendo to Game Boy, there is not a bad one at all. So
yeah, this is another one of those games that you can go back and play over and over again. And Ian, I've seen you playing it on your stream as recently as of like 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I stopped and I watched it for a few minutes and I was like, oh yeah, I remember what he's doing. Oh yeah, there's a place you can bomb right there. Yeah, oh yeah, he got it. Cool. It's funny that you remember that stuff. But for me, the one that really stands out as the one that I could always go back and just pick up and play and be happy is Ocarina of Time. I could go back and play that game right now from beginning to end and spend the next 24 hours just happy as all get out, just playing the game.
I got another figure for you, because I done my homework on my games. Ocarina of Time was not the biggest selling Zelda game. It only sold 7.6 million copies. Any guess on the first?
Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the Wild almost doubled it, 13.6. So that shows you how much Zelda has stood up from when we were kids growing up with Ocarina of Time, and how much it just continues to do now.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was going to say, is Breath of the Wild on the Switch. If you have not played it, it's like Fable meets Zelda. It's like Zelda in an open world. And when I say it's unbelievable and very hard, it is, but it's so rewarding. It's great. That's how I knew exactly when you said that. I knew it had to be Breath of the Wild. When I got the Switch, the guy at GameStop said he would not let me leave that store unless I bought that game with the Switch. It's like, you got to buy this Zelda game. And and what's the newest one? Trenton got it for Christmas.
The
came out last month.
Link's Awakening, the remake of Link's Awakening.
He's not even opened it yet, so I don't have any feedback on it, but
it's
I'm
great.
sure it's just as good.
That's one game that I don't usually play games like back to back to back to back. I have mine set up in episodes. That was one game that after I played it one day, I was like, we're going to keep playing this till we beat it. So I played it for about a week and a half straight, and I didn't play anything else on stream because I wanted to beat that game. So
yeah, that has to be one of the hardest things to do, is to start some of these games knowing that you're not going to be able to just pick up and play the next day. Like, I know you've been doing Final Fantasy VII and some of the old Zeldas and stuff like that. It's impossible to beat those games in a day.
Yeah, and then doing them only like I'm doing Breath of the Wild, but doing it only 2 hours a day, one day a week, it takes a long time. And I'll tell you, the problem with Breath of the Wild that I have, my only complaint with this game is when I pick it back up when it's been a week, it probably takes me a good 30 minutes to get the controller back down to where I'm like, oh yeah, this is what I do. Because I just, I'm switching, I may be in Nintendo today, I may be Xbox tomorrow, I may be Sega Saturn the next day, and then playing the Switch. So back and forth. Like if you tell me hit X, like I'm all over the place. Like I'm like, which console? I end up having a panic attack.
Right. It's like that meme of what this is why I have anxiety or something, and it's an X, and on every console it's in a different spot.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Ian's life.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you don't understand. Like I'll pick up something and I'll go to hit B to go back, and I'm like, oh crap, that's A. No, that's square, circle. No, and I'm like, crap.
I bet that is infuriating.
Yeah, but Zelda, I mean, also with Zelda too, we didn't even, nobody even talked about this, but the music. I mean, I think you can play the opening to Zelda to anybody, and they know exactly what it is within the first 5 seconds. That to me also is what makes a game so memorable, is the music. It's just, I don't know. I love it. I had it as a ringtone for a while. Again, there's nothing I can say that's going to do it justice, the music in that game.
Yep.
My daughter Emma did a watercolor painting at school of an ocarina from Zelda. She's a huge Zelda fan. She even has a Zelda backpack, the shield backpack that she carries every day to school and stuff. But she painted this watercolor ocarina, and it got put on display because it was like voted the best out of her class or whatever. It was put on display in front of the whole school and all that. She was real proud of it.
That's awesome.
And what's sad is we're sitting here giving all this love to Zelda when it's really Link that does everything.
Yeah.
Link's the hero.
Link does everything, and we're giving all the credit to Zelda right now.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. I was going to say that Zelda is one of the most misunderstood genres, franchises, because people that don't play it, they understand it's a game, but they don't understand that you don't play Zelda, you play as Link. So they always call Link Zelda.
It's like a 45-minute YouTube video on just trying to understand the timeline, and it is so confusing.
Yeah. A game that's pretty straightforward is the number 2 game on our list, Zach.
Absolutely. I earlier I mentioned that there's a couple games on this list that no matter what, you play this game, and Grand Theft Auto is one of those games. I remember when San Andreas dropped, people that had never mentioned any kind of video game before that got this game and played the shit out of this game. Every single Grand Theft Auto is just huge, and everyone plays it till it's dead. I remember the first one I heard about on PS2 was Grand Theft Auto 3. Of course, played that one, and the biggest one from my childhood was San Andreas. I mean, every single person I knew played that game. And since then, they've, of course, released several others, and every single one of them is just a gigantic success. And they're amazing. I mean, that's the first game where you were allowed to, do all the things you couldn't do in real life. Rob people, steal cars, shoot hookers. It was an iconic game.
Yeah, like you, Zach, I got into the franchise at GTA 3. Liberty City was the first city that I got to explore. I wish they would go back and do another London one, because I know one of the earlier ones
Yeah. Brandon might be having a little problem here.
Well, okay. While Brandon's having a problem, did you guys? I used to play it with my friend, and we would have one person that would be looking at the book, telling us where to go, and the other one would be driving, playing. I don't know if you guys were like that too. Like that, me and my best friend, I'd be like, "Go left up here, go right," and this is what you do. We just take turns.
We never did that.
Yeah, I know that this most recent one, 5, I've actually beat the game with Trevor. I beat the game with Michael, and I beat the game with Franklin. Mm-hmm. And what I liked about it is if you, depending on which character you chose at the end, you know, where it gives you the option, it's also different. And you could play it through 3 times and say you do the jewel heist one way. The second time you could do it by submarine or whatever you didn't do the first time. And you can change the game up so much that it makes playing through it, you know, pleasurable. It's like it's a whole new game. And
right.
Now that they've added, like 2 days ago, I got on there and I was driving around. I was playing online. And now where they add the online every month, it's like every month you get a new game. Like right. There's so much more to do. And man, like there's the one scene where Michael's dad or Michael's son, the chubby guy, I can't think of his son's name.
Yeah.
But he gives him Jimmy. He gives him the drugs. And they're driving in a car, and then it starts showing the aliens and all that shit, and he's shooting aliens, and he's up. And dude, that's probably one of the greatest scenes of any video game.
Yeah, I remember where they got the idea from that was, well, I would assume from San Andreas. You remember that mission where you have to burn the fields of weed, and you get all stoned, and you start wobbling around.
That's when you drive the hippie van out of that area, and that unlocks the next part of the city.
Yep.
And that was one of the great things about San Andreas is it was so huge. Mm-hmm. You could really deep dive into that game because it was massive.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, and what Justin was saying about GTA 5, GTA 5 really changed the game when they opened up online. GTA 4 had online, but it definitely wasn't the same as GTA 5. GTA 5 is like just the online play is insane. I mean, that game came out in 2013, and the online community is still going strong.
Still buzzing. Yeah,
they just updated a new mission like for Christmas.
Yeah,
I forgot, it's some kind of heist. I forgot what it was called, but I mean, every month it seems like they got a new heist or a new something that's added. And then just playing the made up games where people do like stupid stuff. I mean, you could do that for hours and never get tired of it. You could never do the same thing twice.
Yeah, and that's been an iconic staple of the whole series, and especially with like cheat codes and stuff. There's so much shit to do in that game. You punch in some crazy cheat codes, and you have flying cars or whatever, and you have unlimited ammo, and you can just do so many different things. And with each iteration of the game, they add in more stuff that you can do, and it's one of the best franchises ever. Period.
Oh, go ahead.
Part of the fun of those games is just saying F it and killing everything in sight and seeing how long you can survive with the max wanted level.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of the excitement. And even in games that other Rockstar games like Red Dead Redemption, doing that in Saint Denis with Arthur Morgan was a blast. Yep. Running over people with my horse. It's the same thing in Grand Theft Auto, except you got a lot faster cars and a lot bigger guns.
How many guys our age do you think have notebooks stashed away somewhere in a closet that still has like all the cheat codes from San Andreas and Vice City still wrote in them?
Oh yeah. Oh, and Vice City, that was the first time we've even mentioned that one. That one was like a classic
amazing
game, but it was an obvious ripoff of Scarface.
Yeah.
Go back to PlayStation sometime and play the original Grand Theft Auto, like the top down looking. It was rough. I mean, to look from where it came from to where it is now, you'd have never thought it would have made it.
Yeah, I'm glad they went away from that. That I don't think that did very well for them.
No, I couldn't have. I couldn't have. That has to be so difficult to drive when you can only see top down. Yeah, no.
Right.
I remember I would take and like I would wreck a car. I'd immediately steal another one. Like I hated for my car to have a dent. Yeah. But anytime I saw a motorcycle, man, I could get everywhere on that motorcycle.
Mm-hmm.
Motorcycles were awesome. And I would take it. I would get on the level, like Brandon said, I'd have everybody chasing me. I'd take that motorcycle to the golf course and have them all surround the golf course. Then I'd be jumping over the greens and all kinds of crazy stuff. And that was so much fun, man. I'd die almost every time, but it was fun. You know what I mean? Because the golf course had that fence around it, you know, so you can't get out unless it's the parking lot, and then they surround the parking lot.
Oh yeah, I was into that.
It's fun, man.
Yeah. I had that same tactic for a while too.
It's fun. It's the funnest place to go.
All right. Well, there's only one left.
Now, we've talked about a lot of good franchises on this list, but there are a lot that weren't included. So I figured I would give everybody a chance to kind of rant and rave about some of their other favorite franchises that didn't quite make the list. I know Ian was pleading with me to put Pokemon on the list, but I just couldn't do it because I never played a Pokemon game. Zach wasn't really into Pokemon games. It 2 out of 3 of us wasn't really connecting with it. I know Justin said Trenton basically gets a new Pokemon game every other week, but
yeah, I mean, again, this is another one that I can sit here right beside me. I did not even know we were going to do this, and it's sitting right beside me. This is my original Pokemon Blue from when I was a kid. I mean, I remember getting it in a blue Game Boy Color for Christmas, and it came in a pack with a strategy guide. And I think if you talk about franchises, yeah, I'm 33, but I'm still playing Pokemon games. Like, I still got excited when the new one come out, and I was like, man, this is so cool. And you take what it done for handheld consoles. I mean, Pokemon was with the exception of a couple on like 64 and some like oddball ones, but the core games were all handhelds. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just, it blows my mind to think as well as they done on Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy DS, 3D. It didn't matter what it was. They were so good, and they come out all the time, and yet they still. And it's a game that, you know, I don't have to worry about the content of it. I don't have to worry about what's in it. You know, my kids love it just as much as I loved it back then. It's getting them into gaming like it got me, you know, playing some more stuff. And I love it. I can't believe you guys don't want to catch them all. You know, I'm just trying to be the best.
I had your back on that game.
I definitely concede that it's probably the best handheld game. And if you had a Game Boy, you for sure played Pokemon. Brandon and Justin and I were texting about it. And I was saying that, you know, that was the game where you didn't have to wait till you got home. You could play that on the bus. You could play that at recess, and you could all huddle around with your friends and, oh, I've got a this and I've got a that. I don't know. I don't know if it makes our list as the best franchise. It's definitely up there. But yeah, I mean, for what it is, it's an amazing handheld series.
I know I was talking to them, and I know sports games you can't.
And
put
see,
really
for me,
Brandon left. Go ahead, Justin.
I was going to say sports games you can't have really more than one on here. I can understand that. We only got a list of 10,
right?
But NBA 2K for me, the reason I love it so much and I play it so much is because every year it's such a big change. It's not just graphics. The handles change. The way you shoot changes. Defense changes. And now the newer ones, it's almost like Grand Theft Auto inside of basketball. You can go and hang out with your friends at the clothing store and buy jerseys and hats and shoes. You collect all the Jordans. You can ride a bike to the park and play, 3-on-3 with your buddies. It's almost like a Grand Theft Auto style game built into a sports game. Mm-hmm. And they're the only sports game right now that I believe is doing that. They're trying to go beyond just that sports game, just basketball. Like Madden, you just play football.
Right.
Like I said, this one you can buy skateboards, bikes, upgrade your house. I mean, you can do anything in it. You can spend hours not even shooting a basketball.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew it wasn't going to make the list, but NBA 2K, I can't wait to see what they do next because they're still pushing out new content every year.
Right. I think the only thing that kept that game out of the list is that it really didn't get big until, I don't know, maybe 2K12, 2K13, somewhere around there. Because in like the mid 2000s, I never really played 2K. If I was going to play an NBA game, I played NBA Live back when NBA Live was good, and then 2K kind of took over, and they had their My Career mode, which just blew up, and people love that. But those are two really good honorable mentions that I think a lot of people enjoy. I have a couple for me, and I'll start with Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. That game, that's another one where a ton of people played. And honestly, that game itself had a huge impact on just my childhood. Like the music in Tony Hawk's games were just like, that's how you, as a kid back then, that's how you found the good music is through these games. And of course it opened up the world of skateboarding to people that would have never understood skateboarding before that game. Go ahead.
I say it led to probably the biggest game of when I was in high school going to see him with skate. It got Robin Big involved into it, and that all originated from Tony Hawk. But it was the first time you could actually use the thumbstick as if it was a foot. Like every move you pulled off was so difficult. It wasn't just pushing buttons. I mean, you had to act like your fingers were feet, and you were doing those tricks.
Right.
And I remember just doing runs down the steps. But Tony Hawk, man. If it wasn't for that game, like you said, that would have never happened. And doing like the 900s or whatever it is in Tony Hawk, and riding the rails like forever. You could ride a rail, through a whole city if you could find somewhere to get off on a rail.
Right.
And but Skate, man, thanks to Tony Hawk, Skate was that game that I bought it recently. I've got it here. Whenever they made it compatible with the Xbox One, I went and bought it that day.
Yep.
It's still fun. It's harder now, but it's fun.
And there are a ton of great games, great franchises out there. Metal Gear, Metroid, Donkey Kong, Kingdom Hearts. All those were great ones. You guys mentioned several of them, but there's only one that can be number one on the list, and that, of course, is Super Mario Brothers. This is the game that pretty much introduced all kids to video games.
Yep.
At some point in time, that little red plumber guy was a part of your life. And I know for me that playing the original Super Mario Brothers on my original Nintendo, which I still have, was everything as a kid. That was my first console, and I've kept it with me pretty much my entire life.
Yeah, definitely for me, growing up 8-bit, I love it. It's a game that another one of those games that I go back to a bunch. I can play. I will do I call it my speed run, which is still kind of slow compared to some guys. But of Mario 3, we just done last Flashback Friday. It's still in the console. I was doing the ones for Game Boy, and I still had people, 20, 25, 30 people watching me just play an old game, and they're by no means the Game Boy ones are trash, but just having people watch it because they love Mario so much. I mean, it's as far as retro games go and retro streaming, I mean, it's some of the most viewed out there. If you want to get views, play Super Mario 64. You will get the biggest stream I ever had. I had the flu, like the stomach bug, and was throwing up in a garbage can, but I didn't want to stop because I had like 60 people watching me. And I'm sitting there running a fever, sweating to death, muting my mic, hurling in a trash can beside me. And they were just watching me, and everybody's like, throw the penguin off the cliff, or, that's crazy. I mean, they love them. People love that game. And everybody, again, it goes back to music.
Michael Jordan and Ian have that in common. That clutch flu game.
Yeah, the flu game.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
I know. I'm going to talk about some newer Mario. My son's got Mario Maker and Mario Maker 2. He's got the two up, both of them. And to watch him build like a whole level, it's kind of what I like so much about it is it takes every Mario game that we grew up on, and you can use anything. You can use the squares. You can use any bad guy, basically anything you can think of, and you can build your own level. And seeing some of the stuff that my 10-year-old kid has built, absolutely mind-blowing. And only Mario franchise could do something like that. Basically say, here's an open game. We're going to give you a few levels to play through, because it is a game. But here's an open world. Do with it as you may. That's I think that's incredible.
Do you guys remember? I believe it was called Super Mario Paint back in the day.
I have the mouse and the mouse pad.
Nice.
So
Man,
I used to love the music creation part of that. And I would spend hours creating loops and making songs that I guess sounded pretty good to my little, 12-year-old ear or whatever. But back then I was like, yeah, that sounds pretty badass. They were coming up with stuff that other franchises weren't thinking about at the time, and they were making it work.
right.
yeah, Mario. And we haven't even talked about Mario Kart. And that ties to the Mario franchise. And Mario was so big. Look at all the other games he was in. He was in Punch Out. He was in golf. He was in tennis. He was in all these Nintendo games too.
Smash
growing up.
Brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one that I wanted to mention in the honorable mention section, and we decided not to ultimately include it as one of the greatest franchises because they pick and choose and borrow from all of the other great franchises to fill out their cast of characters. So it's kind of unfair to put it on here.
Yeah, Mario definitely deserves the top. I think it's got some of the top. I mean, it owns the top 10 highest selling games of all time. I mean, it's going to have a Mario game. You're not going to go too many games without hitting a Mario.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I haven't played them all, but I would venture to say that I've played a good 10 plus Mario titles, and every single one of them have been enjoyable. Even Dr. Mario's not that bad, and Mario Through Time is pretty fun, stuff like that. But those are some choice nugs.
Do you remember Paper Mario on the GameCube?
That's what I was getting ready to say. Paper, yeah.
Basically turn I guess flat and then get through some certain levels like that, as opposed to being a 3D character, and that would help you out. That was
Super Mario RPG. It's a great one on Super Nintendo. If you guys haven't played it, check it out. It is, it's got that Final Fantasy elements, and I mean, it's so cool to see how it's evolved and where it's changed, and it's still going strong. What I say 30 years, it's almost it's going on 35 years, if not more, a little bit more.
Right. Yep.
I mean, because Mario 3 was developed in Japan, I believe, in '89, so we didn't get it here until 4 years later.
We got the original Nintendo, I believe, in 1988 in the United States, and Super Mario Brothers accompanied that.
Yeah,
it was the dual Duck Hunt and Super Mario Bros.
Yep. Yeah, and it's crazy. Japan had Super Mario 3 back in I think it was '89 in Japan, and then we're still on Super Mario 1, thinking, man, this is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're leaps and bounds.
That's old news. That's yesterday's news. They've even already had the sequel and decided they didn't like it as much.
I love it so much. That's one game, that I have the Japanese versions of too. That anytime I see a different version, I'll go out and buy it. So I actually own the Famicom versions of Super Mario and Super Mario 3.
Nice. Wow.
Yeah.
What did you think of Mario 2, Super Mario 2? That was kind of the weird one in the whole gambit.
To me, it's one that I don't like. I'll be honest, I've never beat it. Mostly because I just get so aggravated with it that I kind of just turn it off before I can finish it. I don't give it enough love. It is memorable though to me. I think everybody remembers it because it's the first one you could pick as any of the characters.
Mm-hmm.
And really, it was, besides Mario Kart, you really couldn't do that again until Mario Maker. So I think everybody remembers it. And so I won't knock it for that, but for me, it's kind of like the black sheep for the Nintendo for it.
I think at one point I heard that it was intended to be another game, but riding the success of the original Mario game, they decided last minute to put the Mario characters in there to try to boost the sales.
So it's another Japanese game. And I can't remember if you wouldn't have said anything, I probably could have said it. The game is a Japanese game already. It's its own game that doesn't even have the Mario characters in it. And when they came out with Mario 2, The Lost Levels, in Japan, when Nintendo of Japan showed it to Nintendo of America in Seattle, they were afraid that it would turn American players off of it because it was so hard. So they needed a second Mario, and it looked the same as Mario 1.
Probably a good bet.
Yeah, Mario 1 and the real Mario 2, The Lost Levels, looking identical. I mean, they didn't change anything. They just made the levels harder. They introduced stuff like wind and stuff like that. So like when you jumped, you could have wind that would push you farther away or, make your jump shorter. And they were afraid that it would not work for American audiences. So they switched it, brought over the Mario or the Japanese game, and just switched the sprites to Mario characters.
That's interesting.
That's how you got Mario. Mario 2 shouldn't have even been Mario 2.
Wow. I learned something today.
Yep.
I didn't know that.
If you get the Super Nintendo, the Super Mario Brothers All-Stars, it has the Lost Levels on there. And that was the true intended Super Mario 2.
Well, see, I've even seen the Lost Levels, but I thought it was just those didn't make the cut or whatever. I didn't realize that was really Mario 2. That's awesome. I'm going to have to go back and try to play those now.
Good luck. Let me know how it goes. I don't even play those.
Are they really, really tough?
Oh, you'll have there's one, I think it's like stage 4-3, where you got these jumps that you got to blind jumps that you got to make while the wind's pushing you, and then you got to hit a platform that's got a spring to hit another jump to just, and you got to do that like 4 times in a row to make it. Yeah, I rage quit there every time. I'm like, nope, done.
What's up with the Japanese where they want the hardest shit that they can possibly play?
Yeah. I mean, that's even like Mario 3. I mean, I'll give you some like little hidden nuggets here that I know. Mario 3, the Japanese version, in America, if we were playing Mario 3 and you had the Tanuki suit and you had the tail and you got hit, you went to Big Mario. And then you had to get hit again to go to Little Mario. The Japanese version, like when I try to speed run through it, if you get hit as anything, you automatically go to Little Mario. So it makes it a little harder because you don't have the extra hit.
Ouch.
Wow. Damn Japanese making everything too hard. Making us nerd quit. But that's the end of our list. Hope everyone enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you give it a like, good thumbs up, and all that good stuff. Ian, where can people find you at?
You can check me out at facebook.com/growingup8bit. I'm live there. My wife's streaming for me tonight, so I'm putting out content 7 days a week on my page.
Wow, that's awesome. That's an update since the last time you were on for us. So
yeah,
7 days a week you can go check out Growing Up 8-Bit. It'll be Ian and his wife.
Yeah, 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock every night. So
that's awesome. How's she doing? Is she kicking your butt in the ratings?
Well, she's playing more of the modern games. So She just created her own page. She calls it Mama Talks Nerdy. So anybody tries to talk too nerdy to her, I gotta lay the smack down. But she plays the modern games, which kind of works out because she's reaching a portion of my audience that I don't reach because everybody knows me for playing the old games. So it works out kind of cool. It gives her, gets her exposure on my page to help her build up hers, and then she's on hers the other two, Friday and Saturday nights. So it's been good. It's been a learning process. You should try and show her how to do everything. So it's fun.
Yeah, it's definitely a learning process. Like, as you guys know, I dropped out at some point during all this. My computer just decided to completely stop, and my stream closed, everything closed out. The only thing that was left going was our Skype call. So I could still hear everything you guys were saying. So it was kind of funny, but we got it back, I think, and we're even going to finish out the live stream on Facebook. So if you guys are listening and enjoyed it, you can check out myself, Zach, and Justin. Every Monday night, we talk about the latest in what's going on in sports. We're going to finish up talking about the Super Bowl and football season, and then we're going to transition real quick into baseball season. So if you guys like live streams, check us out Mondays at around 7 o'clock. And if you like podcasts, we're anywhere podcasts are available. We'll see you later. Peace.
Stay connected with Brandon and Zach on Facebook and Instagram at The Rust Podcast. And tune in next week for a brand new episode. And thanks for listening.